Check one. 1, 2.
Good morning, Unity Spiritual Center. My name is Dr. Gary, and I'm here with Dr. Jane, and we welcome you to our worship service this morning, where our mission is transforming lives and inspiring people to make a positive difference in our world. We begin our worship service each Sunday with affirming our foundation principle, our opening affirmations. I'll speak it once and invite you to say it with me. There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the Good. Together, please. There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the Good. All right, we have some news this morning that you can use. First of all, we want to mention that Reverend David McClure is conducting a How We Go a miracling. That's a hard one to say. Christmas and A Course in Miracles. And that starts on December, I can't read it, 2nd? Yeah, December 2nd. And please register. Go online and register for that, and make sure you get into that class. Let's see, we want to thank everybody for all of the donations of over 1,300 pounds of clothing. We haven't quite received word yet as to what that translates into our donation for our fundraiser, but we'll let you know as soon as we find out more about that. All right, and I just want to remind you that this is the last day to complete the online survey. Our congregational profile survey is for the purpose of helping to inform our search team and our board and candidating ministers with respect to what is arising within our community and what is personally important to the members and friends of Unity Spiritual Center. We have approximately 125 people already completed the survey, so we appreciate those numbers. We like to get it to 150 so that we know that it really represents all of us. So please take the time to go ahead and fill out that survey. You should have received the link in the e-news update on Wednesday, and go ahead and complete that by today, because tomorrow morning it will be closed. All right.
So, first of all, our wonderful bookstore that we all miss so much. We now have some used books that we are putting in the foyer between the doors that you can come and do some early Christmas shopping, browsing, if you choose. So come on by and take a look at the used books, and you can put a donation for those in the mail slot. And so it's on a love offering basis, and I just wanted everyone to know about that. Our bookstore manager, Linda Tweedy, has been hard at work trying to find ways for us to continue sharing some of the gifts that we have at Unity Spiritual Center. And speaking of gifts, we are so grateful to our chaplains and how they are holding us in prayer. So each week we now have a chaplain who is in person holding us in prayer, and one who's holding us in prayer from home. And this week, Theodora Salih is here with us, and Gary Howard is holding us in prayer from home. And so we're so grateful for that prayer support. And so our chaplain team did an online training this year, and we did our dedication over Zoom. And you may remember that typically all of the team would be up here. We would do our dedication in person in front of the congregation. So this was one way we realized we could do that. So we're going to play this video, and partway through, you will experience the song "Here I Am, Lord." It's sung by Richard McDeesey, New Thought musician. And as you're hearing this music, really take the time to settle in and feel that divine commitment to being the change in the world, knowing that as our chaplains step up and say, "Here I am, I'm going to be that prayer support for us all," that all of us have that opportunity. And so this song will be one of our songs of today's service. And so as you're hearing that song, really let it sink into your heart. So here is our chaplain team being dedicated for another year.
All right, here it goes.
Today to honor and to dedicate our 2021 chaplain team. And due to COVID, this team has done their training in a 10-hour online format. and will be serving in a virtual capacity until such time as it's safe for us to meet in person once again. And so I want to ask each of our team members to introduce themselves, tell how long they have been on the chaplain team, some have just joined, and if they have any kind of a coordination role, to share that as well. When Mary Teresa True retired as the chaplain coordinator last year, some of the longtime members of the team took over parts of the coordination. So I will ask those folks to begin, and then we'll go on to our returning chaplains, and finally, our newest members.
My name is Al Konigsfeld. I am the chaplain coordinator. I basically run the meetings and arrange for the training segments for all of our meetings, and really focus on just the organizational aspects.
And I am Marlene Locke, and during non-COVID times, I was the person who coordinated visitations to people who were mostly in nursing homes or at home for people who have requested it. So once we get going back in that capacity, you'll be hearing more from us about that, how to make that happen.
I'm Tim, and just like Marlene, I'm going into my 13th year as a chaplain. I am the prayer center coordinator, and what I do is I collect all of the prayers from our congregation in various ways, and I send those prayers throughout the rest of the chaplains, as well as I send our prayer requests on to Silent Unity, where they are prayed on for 30 days. During our times of COVID, those requests are now done online through our website, as well as they're collected via the calls that many members of our congregation are making to other members of our congregation, and all of those get routed back to me. And then they're sent out on weekly emails to members of our prayer center.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you to all of you. And Kathy Fisher is also a member of this team. And when we are meeting in person, Kathy takes care of scheduling chaplains in the Sunday service. So we also have team members who are returning chaplains, and I'd like for each of those folks to introduce themselves now, please.
My name's Karen Dunmore, and I am in my 3rd year as a chaplain.
My name is Gary Howard. I'm in my 4th year as chaplain. And during this last year, we spent time in Florida making our phone calls because of COVID.
I'm Diane Hunter, and I believe this is my 5th or 6th year as being a chaplain.
I'm Cheryl Miller-Arndt, and I believe this is my 3rd year also of being a chaplain.
And we have our newest members of the team. So I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves now. Thank you.
Yes, I'm Steve Bortfeld. Been a member of the church here since about 2012, and looking forward.
Well, hi, I'm David Dorfler. Been in Unity for a year, was in CSL, Center for Spiritual Living before that. And I'm looking forward to a chance to serve the community here and be part of a growing sense of community and a relationship with people through understanding the Spirit and through prayer.
I'm Theodora Salih, and I'm a brand new member. I'm very much looking forward to being of service and to getting to know my fellow congregants much better.
Well, thank you to all of you. We are so blessed to have such a wonderful, committed team of people who are willing to share their prayer consciousness with our community. I'm going to read now what everyone is committing to. from the confirmation form that they have each signed. And then I'm going to ask each chaplain to light their candle and to hold it up to symbolize an agreement to share their light this year in this way. So here's the commitment. As a Unity chaplain, I commit to a daily spiritual journey which is based on love, faith, prayer, and gratitude, demonstrating an active commitment to Unity principles and beliefs in my daily life, holding a spiritual space of possibility for others and myself, knowing and trusting that God, the universe, the divine presence is in charge. Regular prayer, both for myself and with others, actively listening to others, honoring each other's growth processes and individuality, demonstrating a genuine interest in the well-being of congregants and other chaplains, holding prayer request information in confidence unless I learn that someone is in danger. At that time, I will consult the minister, maintain open communication with the chaplain coordinator, the minister, the center staff, and attend monthly chaplain meetings and actively participate in all trainings and discussions. I agree to put this commitment into action through service to Unity Spiritual Center's community in the following possible ways. They can choose from these ways: praying with others, leading meditations, holding space, hospital or shut-in visits and phone calls. The visits can happen when we can meet in person again, wellness calls, special services, prayer vigils. Many ways for chaplains to serve in this way. And we're so blessed to have such a sacred agreement with all of these people. And they're really stepping up with their willingness to say yes to this. And so to settle into the sacredness of their commitment, we are going to play the song, Here I Am, Lord, which is sung by our New Thought musician, Richard McDeesey. And as you're listening to this song, let it anchor you into the sacredness of the moment.
I, the Lord of sea and sky, I have heard my people cry, all who dwell in loneliness, my hand will save. I who made the stars of night, I will make their darkness bright. Who will bear my light to them? Whom shall I send?
Here I am, Lord. Is it I, Lord? I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord.
We will finish our dedication ceremony by releasing bubbles, and this is in honor of all of the past prayers that our chaplains have blessed our community with over the last 2 decades that this chaplain team has been serving. Just imagine all of that prayer in 20 years. And we're also doing this so that we can celebrate in advance all of the new prayers and the new blessings that this team will be showering our community with. And so, please join me in celebrating with gratitude your 2021 chaplain team. Blow those bubbles, everybody. Woo.
Right, way to go. That was a really good dedication.
Yeah, that
All right.
song, that was our ordination song, so I can never hear it without feeling.
Yeah, when you're a unity minister, you have to kind of mouth the words because it's part of your programming.
You don't have to, but...
I know, but I can't help myself because that is an inspiring song. It is very moving. And it sets us up for a great meditation experience. So let's move into that right now. So I invite you, wherever you are, to simply to relax and settle into this present moment. And so as we begin, let us just simply notice our experience in this moment, being held by our chair, intentionally scanning throughout our body to relax and let go of any tightness or holding. And then allow our awareness simply to gently settle into this now moment by moving into the felt experience of the present moment. And so it's not necessary for us to think about our experience, just to feel into the moment. Feeling the sensations of our physical self, feeling the experience of our immediate surroundings, the room, the space that we occupy, just simply sensing, allowing ourselves to notice what is contained that is often hidden because of too much mental activity. And so we simply open ourselves to the felt experience of this moment, this noting our experience. And so I just invite us to begin the deepening part of our meditative experience by taking in the idea, be like water. And then allowing ourselves to feel what that might be like. So through the power of imagination, we can visualize ourselves in a very warm, comfortable, soothing flow. So I imagine for myself floating down a tranquil and beautiful, quiet stream, effortlessly, not bouncing against any rocks, but just simply floating, being carried. What does it feel like to be carried, to just drift, to allow the current to be our only guiding force? And then to be in the experience of the flow with curiosity and adventure. For the flow gives us a different perspective than the intentional doings of our life. And so to be in the experience and to feel the grace of the flow is what it means to be like water. And so let us just be in this moment, feeling a part of a flow, feeling a part of an activity, a movement of spirit that is bringing us into a greater expression of who and what we've come here to be. Feeling into a gradual increase in confidence, in knowing our worth, in feeling empowered, releasing ourselves to the activity of spirit, to the guidance of our higher self. To allow ourselves to be in this moment, in this experience, without any worry or care, knowing that all things are flowing together for the highest and greatest good for all. And so as we allow ourselves to be carried, to drift, to be in this flow, let us add to this felt experience the sensation of being connected to all of life. That the flow is a part of everyone's experience, everyone's capacity. And so we feel a part of a greater movement, a greater flow that is carrying us to a world of possibilities that unleash what we're here to co-create. And so as we feel into this experience of flow, and as we acknowledge that this flow is really the activity of God's love, seeking to fulfill itself through each of us, let us surrender to that love. And let us, in the next few moments, be in the silent experience of oneness, of connection, of possibilities in the silence. Breathe in and release. Breathe in and release. Blessed Spirit, we release ourselves now into your care and keeping. We give thanks in advance for the flow that knows where it is taking us, and we are grateful. So it is. Amen.
Thank you. Well, we want to talk about that flow today. Thank you for that beautiful experience of what I'm going to be talking about. Well, a funny thing happened on the way to an election. Well, actually, it was the morning after the election when it occurred. I went to bed on election night feeling highly agitated, unable to watch the returns coming in. I had such mixed feelings about what was happening. Hopefulness that things in this country could change and shift into a more peaceful and less polarized state, but dreading that they wouldn't change. What Stephen Colbert refers to as dread hoping. I was definitely dread hoping. Now, surprisingly, I was able to fall asleep fairly easily, but when I awakened, there was that dread hope again. and falling more firmly on the dread side. And then I took a look online to see, to get the news, the latest news. And even though there was nothing definitive happening in that moment, I suddenly felt a very deep sense of calm move through my entire body. And I realized in that moment that no matter what the news ended up being, I was going to be okay. We were all going to be okay. All the fear-mongering and the angst and the anxiety was not telling me the truth. And I relaxed into the moment with such a feeling of peace and well-being that was quite amazing to me, especially when I considered the space I had been in previously. And in that gentle sense of spaciousness, I recalled hearing a young man speak at an Alternatives to Violence Project workshop that we held a few years back about a power he had discovered through his choice politically to be a registered independent. And he said that not only was he free to attend the meetings of either party, and he did, in fact, he was actively welcomed at both. He was never viewed as the enemy by either side, always as a potential supporter. And he agreed with some things and disagreed with others from both parties. And as he was speaking about this, I caught a glimpse of the power of impartiality and balance and open-mindedness and going with the flow and seeing the people around you not as opponents to vanquish, but as fellow human beings, potential allies. And I saw what could happen when we spend our time trying to find common good, things we agree with, and then focusing on those things with the goal of creating solidarity. And when we look at each other with compassionate human eyes, we see that we all want our families to be safe and healthy. We all want food, enough food and clean water for our loved ones. We have basic human needs. And when we find these points of agreement, we start there. And I'm not proposing that we all go out and change our political affiliation to become independents, but I am suggesting that stepping into a non-resistant, open-minded flow means that we can now unplug ourselves from any polarized power struggle. We can be like water, as Bruce Lee famously taught, and that is my talk title, Be Like Water. Be like water, my friend, as he says. Now, the ego might tell us that being like water means capitulation, throwing in the towel, being defeated, giving up autonomy, resigning ourselves to, this is the way it is, and I just have to accept it, and I'm powerless. But nothing could be further from the truth. Water, while it conforms to the shape of its container, can also wear down mighty rock like nothing else can. And we have a short video clip of Bruce Lee being like water. So let's know that this is going to happen. There he is breaking a board with his fingertips and getting applause. Oh. My karate training comes back when I watch something like that. And there he is. This is a movie that he did, but this kind of floating movement. And again, I'm not thinking that we should go around and beat each other up. I don't know how many of you have seen this ping pong that he does with two other people against him, and he's doing all these flips and turns, and it's just really, really incredible. Yes, very cool. Be like water, my friend, he says. Oh, all right, that was it. So this Zen-like saying really speaks to our spiritual power. Do you see this? It's not about worldly power over. And I know from my own experience that whenever I have a desire for power over another, it comes directly from a sense of powerlessness. But that spiritual power, that emanates from within, from a center of inner peace. And that peace resides within our hearts right now, even when there's agitation of the mind. Just like at the depths of the ocean, there is a profound calm. Despite a hurricane raging on the surface, that calmness is never touched by the storm. And we have that same serenity, tranquility, calmness within ourselves that is untouched by politics. Believe it or not, we do. And in the day after the election, I discovered that well of peace right in the midst of all of my dread hoping. And I read something that one of the directors of Findhorn, David Spangler, wrote that really captured what was going on inside of me in that moment of peace. He said, the important thing to remember is that whatever happens in the election or next January, you remain you. In all of your strength and generativity and spirit, you remain you. That never changes. And he goes on to say, your soul is neither enhanced nor diminished by whoever occupies the White House. You are always the arbiter of the love you radiate or withhold. Let me say that again. You are always the arbiter of the love that you give or hang on to. And he ends by saying, whatever we need to do in the world, we will do. Whatever we need to endure, we will endure. Whatever light is needed, we will provide. And this is the strength and the promise within each one of us. Whatever light is needed, we will provide. And that goes for all of us, those of us who are happy and those of us who are not, with the election results as they stand. But we have the opportunity to aid in the reconciliation of the political divide in this country, and it's going to take being like water. The Tao Te Ching says, if you want to be a great leader, you must learn to follow the Tao. Stop trying to control. Let go of fixed plans and concepts. The world will govern itself. And later in that verse, it reads, I take no action and people are reformed. I enjoy peace and people become honest. I do nothing and people become rich. Now, to the Western egoic mind, this seems ludicrous. I take no action and people are reformed. That's impossible. I do nothing and people become rich. How ridiculous. What this is talking about, however, is about outer actions that try to force change. Do you know what I mean by this? It doesn't matter how much we try to change the outer world, we will always be reaping the results of what is going on inside of us. See? Being like water means being flexible, adaptable, willing to change, and to move with the flow. And it also entails letting the current lead where it may. Centering ourselves directly in that current, which is the creative flow of the universe, divine love. And that is true power. I can remember the first time I experienced being like water. One summer I went whitewater rafting with a friend. And if I'm being honest, the thing that petrified me the most was getting tossed out of the raft. We had a very young guide who demonstrated the proper way of falling out. It was part of our safety training. We had to keep practicing falling in the water. And I was not at all amused or enthused about that at all. In fact, I had some words with Spirit at that point, made it very clear that I was not going to go into the water. Well, guess what? I safely made it through the rapids. Mainly because those of us on the raft function as a team. And we got this coherence happening, and as a team, we navigated our way through. And once I got past my fearful resistance, I have to tell you, I loved every moment of whitewater rafting. It was positively thrilling. Well, then we got to a calm part of the river, and our guide invited us to get out of the raft and lay back in the water with our life jackets on, of course, and to let the current take us down the river. And one by one, each person in the raft jumped in, except me. I was the final one. And there was more resistance. I thought, well, I'm just going to hang out in the raft and I'll enjoy this ride from here. But I could tell how much everybody was enjoying their ride down the river. And so I finally did. I was the last one. I jumped in. I laid back. I felt the sun on my face, and I let the water gently move me along on my journey. And it was heavenly. And I wondered, why had I resisted this so strongly? And I actually realized in that moment how often I was doing that in my daily life, not allowing the current to guide, not relaxing into the moment, always fighting what is. And as Byron Katie reminds us, when we fight reality, we lose, but only 100% of the time. Or as the author Pam Grote puts it, to resist life is as futile as trying to make an elephant purr. So that experience was a perfect metaphor for me of the power and the peace of living in harmony with life and following the current of divine love, letting it be your guide. New Thought leader Ernest Holmes writes this: love itself is the universal urge of spirit for self-expression. And when it is stifled in the individual, life cannot express its greater good through him or her. When we learn to be like water, we can become conscious, living, compassionate conduits for the divine flow of love. And this is revolutionary love. We need to reclaim love as a force for justice and peace. And the more love we give, the greater our capacity to love. But to do so, we need to work through any plugged drains, those plugs of unforgiveness, resentments, contempt for the other side, and instead see the other through compassionate eyes. The Franciscan priest, Father Richard Rohr, describes this revolutionary love as the choice to enter into wonder and labor for others, for our opponents, and for ourselves in order to transform the world around us. And he says, we birth the beloved community by becoming the beloved community. That's how it happens. And that is truly living the reality of one presence. That's really what's meant by living with nothing and no one against us. Because us versus them is really an antiquated story, long disproven by quantum physics. And it's time for us to transcend the obsolete paradigm that generates cycles of violence. Because when we demonize each other, making the other wrong, thinking of them as the enemy, we stop the flow of love. And we can get stuck in a place of blame, projection, condemnation, even hatred. Nietzsche describes this phenomenon a little more graphically as he writes, "He who fights with monsters should be careful lest he thereby become one." And this is good for us to see. What are we putting out there? But one of the most challenging lessons in the Course in Miracles, the PhD course, according to Pam Grote, is this: in my defenselessness, my safety lies. In my defenselessness, my safety lies. And again, that makes no sense to the ego. It's the very opposite of what we are conditioned to learn in a world of separation. But as Charles Eisenstein reminds us, we mistake punishment for justice and fighting for action. And breaking those cultural ingrained habits takes time. We have a whole lifetime of learning defensive techniques to keep ourselves safe. And of course, we need to use our wisdom and not deliberately jump into the danger zone. But what I have labeled as danger may very well be discomfort. And learning to manage discomfort is a primary step to reconciliation and reparation of the story of separation, and instead shifting to living and investing in the truth of oneness. And all of us have what it takes to do that and to be that right now, right here, just because of who and what we are. There's a Zen koan or riddle that the Buddhist teacher Alan Watts shares, and it goes like this. Question: everybody has a place of birth. What is your place of birth? And here's the Zen answer. Early this morning I ate white rice gruel now I am hungry again. Truth be told, I find these koans highly annoying, but I like the interpretation given for this one by the author Evan Harris Walker in The Physics of Consciousness. And he explains that regardless of the physical location of our birth, every morning upon awakening, our consciousness comes into being. We're constantly being reborn. We're not the same as we were yesterday. We're an entirely new creation today. And as Esther Hicks reminds us, there is no such thing as a moment that isn't rich with treasures. And this gives me a sense of hope and renewal. Creation is ongoing. We are recreating our bodies right now. If you look down at your hand, and then at the end of my talk, take another look, it's not the same hand you started out with. You know, the cells are reproducing as we speak. And the point of power exists right now. And it's within every single one of us. And so our job then is to become the illumination of the divine wholeness that we are, and let truth operate through us as we empty ourselves of all preconceived concepts and release the past of egoic conditioning, or as Neil Donald Walsh calls it, become non-aware of prior data. It's not that we forget the past. It means we know it happened, we just stop putting our attention on it. We stop letting it influence the present moment and get in our way. We stop allowing what has happened in the past to determine our future. Become non-aware of prior data. I recently read the story of an African American man who grew up in New Orleans in the 1940s. And he told how segregation lines cut deep in Louisiana. And he described the consequences of that for him and his family. And despite the uneven playing field, this man earned a doctorate at Berkeley. And he shared that the obstacles and the challenges he met with drew him inward, and he found a place within himself that could not be touched by the inequality that the world of separation was trying to reflect back to him. He became the first African American department chair at the University of Utah, and later began a successful consulting firm. And when he was asked what helped him in his success, he said this: "No one had the power to derail that part of me that could not be derailed." Now, I was very moved by his words. And although I firmly believe that our work is to transform the corrupt system that is specifically designed to put obstacles in front of people of color, and we have work to do, what I was inspired by in his story was this man's resolve to not let what had happened to him in the past determine his future. He became like water. He allowed the power of his own inherent worth within him to continue to show him the way to lead. And every one of us has that power. We all have inherent worth that comes from being a divine expression of the infinite presence of God, and nothing can derail that. Nothing. We may have been born of human parentage into this manifest world, but what we really are is divine love expressing as an original, creative being. We are created in the image and likeness of the divine, and that means we are love, that we're here to love, that our power lies in that love, regardless of what the world of separation tries to tell us. Because the truth is that we are united in an interconnected web of life that is empowered by Source, the universal life essence of divine love flowing throughout all of creation, and that love never deserts us. It is always available to us when we open to it and allow it, as the mystic Julian of Norwich assures us. Never does love's compassionate eye turn from us. We live and move and have our being in that love. It's the very beingness of life itself. So our mission, should we accept it, is to overcome the illusion of separation, evolve to the acceptance of our innate wholeness, and move the reality of oneness from potential to actualization. as we live the truth of interconnection. It's just a small mission. That was a joke. But the fulfillment of that mission happens by being like water and letting the love at our core be released and shared with the world. You belong here. You add value to the world as you bring your wholeness to every situation. And you can continue doing that no matter who is in the White House, no matter what is going on in the news cycle, no matter what the other side threatens or comes up with. You are the place where God shows up. If you operate from that consciousness, you will make a difference wherever you find yourself. And when you give up cherished animosities, as I heard it termed this week, I love that. When you're in a state of joyous inspiration and divine love, you contribute that to the collective field of awareness, and it makes a difference. And as more and more of us adopt this practice, we reach a tipping point, and transformation can happen. So let me end with this poem by one of my favorite poets, Mary Oliver, called I Go Down to the Shore. She says, I go down to the shore in the morning, and depending on the hour, the waves are rolling in or moving out. And I say, oh, I am miserable. What should I do? And the sea says in its lovely voice, excuse me, I have work to do. So what I want to say to all of us is, excuse me, we have work to do. We can rail against what is, we can shrivel up in despair, we can commiserate with those of like mind. I've certainly tried all of those things. Or I can get to a peaceful place, stop fighting, become like water, and allow myself to be led to the actions I take. I can step out of a fearful place of resistance and anger and resentment and plotting. I have visited all those places and I am done with them. I'm in complete agreement with Kurt Vonnegut as he writes, hate in the long run is about as nourishing as cyanide. And that kind of says it all. So as we go through the next couple of months, let's remember to be like water as we allow love to guide us, as we pray for those we disagree with, as we try to find our commonalities and focus on those things with the people we have previously seen as the other. And as we find that place within us that cannot be derailed, the state of consciousness that is free of opinion, not touched by what's happening in the world. And from that place, look at each other through the eyes of kindness and compassion. We truly do help to bring a new world into being. And so it is.
Way to go. So it occurred to me that while you were talking about being like water, it's almost like it's an energetic dynamic as opposed to an intellectual one. We have to actually feel into the flow of what becomes then the energetic equivalent of our being presence, independent of all the baggage that we carry with us into that present moment.
Yeah, exactly. And it's settling into that current and allowing it. And so it really is, the floating we were doing in the meditation is much like that. It's floating and allowing. And when we come to those stopped up places, realizing this is a kink here in the hose, and so let me work through that as I continue to keep myself clear and find out how I can be a force for good here.
When you think about it, I mean, especially in our experience, we've had so much happen that happens as a result of flow as opposed to force. It's almost like we've experienced such inability to exert force that the only option where empowerment kind of lives is in the flow. Because
we've tried the other way.
Yeah, we've tried the other way. I mean, all the stuff that we had to deal with in terms of living in Kettle Falls, out in the country where there's power failures, there's snow, and there's all kinds of dynamics. But yet to have the universe provide for us in every single way that makes our experience of what's happening a flow-like experience as opposed to being jerked around by this event or this thing or that thing. We're in a movement of spirit that is carrying us. I really feel that we're being carried now.
Yeah. Yeah, and that whole non-resistant thing. I mean, this is my big, learning in this life, is how to be non-resistant, how to go with the flow rather than try to fix everything, because that's what I tend to do. I gotta fix this. It's up to me. And that's not to say we don't take action either. You know, we don't want to, just languish and say, oh well, the flow will take care of it. We're the flow. We have to also take action that helps with the healing.
Right. But there's also the recognition that it's like the Taoist perspective. If it sounds absurd to our intellect, to our human mind, but to recognize that, no, that's the truth when we're in the flow. The truth is that when we're in the flow, everything gets done that needs to be done. I think it was just a really awesome topic to talk about today.
Awesome.
All right. Well, we want to appreciate everybody and all the effort that goes into bringing our experience together each week, as well as maintaining all of the ways in which we attempt to remain connected to all the folks that are going on. And we really appreciate the financial support that comes, and to be perfectly honest, we would appreciate an increase in that support if that's something that you can do. If that's comfortable for you, then go ahead and give us a shot of an extra bit of little generosity that'll help us during these times. But we're going to affirm right now our offertory blessing, knowing that we have more than enough. Let's say that together. I know that my giving blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I give and receive. I give thanks for the abundance that is mine to share. That's what happens when you don't stay on script sometimes. All right, immediately following our song, our closing song, which is done by Greg Tennell and Leroy White, another wonderful rendition, A Vision for America. It's timely. And then we'll be on our Zoom meet and greet. So, God bless. Here we go. Oh, we first have to do our closing prayer. So let's, wherever you are in your world, in your life, if you feel are able and can stand and join with us now for our prayer for protection. Together, the light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And that's the truth. All right.
Indeed.
Indeed.
We are a land of many different peoples. Our people come from many different lands. We have no borders, no walls to divide us. Only the walls within our minds. Picture a vision of a people undivided, one in heart and soul and mind. Picture a future where we put an end to hatred, where people of all points of view can live in harmony. Oh, America, keep your vision focused high and place no limits on your dreams. Oh, America, share a vision from above, a vision of harmony and love. Now take this vision and share it with the nations. Let it expand to fill the world. The love of God shines brightly in all people, and love can transform the world. Picture a planet in the loving hands of wisdom, all people strong and wise and free. Picture the governments in synchrony together, a world where everyone is free, a world in harmony. Oh, America, keep your vision focused high and place no limits on your dreams. Oh, America, share a vision from above, a vision of harmony and love, a vision of harmony and love.